Life is just too noisy, isn't it? Every little comment, every small setback, if it all easily gets under your skin, into your heart and mind, then you are actively giving away your inherent power. The surprisingly simple truth is the most unshakable people you know aren't those who have fewer problems or live in cushioned comfort without storms. They've simply mastered the art of how they react to everything that comes their way. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a life where you walk forward steadfastly, where nothing external can truly disturb your inner world. No more crippling overthinking. No more unpredictable emotional outbursts. Just complete calmness and command over yourself. In this journey we're about to embark on, I will guide you through exploring the core principles to train your mind to function as if nothing on the outside can genuinely bother it. The goal is for you to stop feeling trapped or controlled by fleeting emotions and instead to start truly owning them. Because once you authentically master this skill, absolutely nothing and no one will ever hold lasting control over you again. 1. Laying the foundation, the immovable inner world. The outside world is a relentless generator of noise. People's opinions, the constant stream of daily frustrations, unexpected setbacks, materializing out of nowhere. Life truly doesn't let up in its ability to throw distractions, criticisms, and roadblocks onto your path. But what if I were to tell you that true strength, real resilience doesn't come from confronting or resisting that torrent head-on, but from mastering the art of unbotheredness, a state of inner stillness and immovability. Imagine yourself walking right through the epicenter of a hurricane, yet you remain standing firm, unwavering, without losing your composure even slightly. This is precisely the picture of acting, as if nothing can bother you. What's the secret here? It's learning to fundamentally detach your emotional reactions from external circumstances and events. When you allow outside occurrences to dictate your mood and inner state, you automatically become a puppet controlled by forces utterly beyond your personal command. But when you consistently train your mind to remain unmoved, you are actively stepping into the role of master of your own destiny. This world naturally respects those who can maintain profound calmness amidst utter chaos. Those who don't easily crumble or collapse under heavy pressure. When you authentically embody this state of mind, you project an aura of authority without needing to utter a single word. You move through life with an intrinsic power, a magnetic presence, and an unshakable confidence. Think of history's most influential figures, the great leaders, the profound thinkers. They weren't individuals who reacted impulsively or lashed out aggressively at every slight or criticism. Instead, they acted and moved with an air of having complete control, as if they possessed a secret understanding the rest of the world hadn't grasped. Their power wasn't in their ability to argue or fight back vehemently, but in their ability to remain largely unaffected by external negativity. This is the true power residing in being unbothered. 2. The emotional shield, mastering your inner state, not suppressing it. The people you recognize as most resilient never react on impulse. They don't permit fleeting emotions to command and order their actions. Instead, they possess the ability to pause, take a moment, assess the situation carefully, and only then deliver a calculated, purposeful response. This isn't because they are emotionless machines lacking feeling. It's because they have diligently trained themselves to become masters of their emotional flow. Emotional detachment, in the way we are discussing it here, doesn't imply suppressing or denying feelings like sadness, anger, joy, or anxiety. It means you have acquired the deep ability to control those emotions rather than letting them control you. Imagine yourself caught in a heated argument, and the other person is desperately trying to provoke you. Will you react on instinct? Will you let their venomous words dictate and control your emotional state? Or will you simply offer a gentle smile, remaining utterly unfazed, knowing one fundamental truth: their words carry absolutely no weight or power unless you choose to give it to them? Emotional detachment is the conscious act of refusing to surrender your valuable inner peace to external forces or factors. It's the profound understanding that your inner world is a sacred space, an inviolable fortress that no one can enter without your explicit permission. When you begin to adopt this approach, you will immediately notice a significant reduction in stress and anxiety in your life, and your clarity and focus will notably increase. The challenges you face in life no longer feel like painful battles. They transform into intriguing puzzles awaiting your solution. Remember the core principle echoed through millennia in self-mastery and success. Literature thought precedes action. What you think you become. If you constantly react emotionally to the world, you are willingly handing over your personal power. But if you cultivate an unwavering, unbothered mindset, the world might even begin to bend to your will. Those who achieve great things in life invariably grasp this non-negotiable principle. Control your mind and you control your reality. Picture a scenario where someone publicly insults you. The default reaction for most is anger, a desire for retaliation, or immediate self-defense. But what truly happens when you simply offer a serene smile and calmly walk away? You have just robbed the instigator of all their power in that moment. They expected an explosive reaction, and when they receive none, they are left unsettled, bewildered, and ultimately frustrated. You, on the other hand, walk away feeling stronger, untouched by their petty attempt, utterly undefeated in that exchange. This is the silent dominance, a form of quiet authority that very few people genuinely understand, yet everyone implicitly admires. The same dynamic applies equally to failures and setbacks on your journey. When faced with rejection or defeat, the vast majority of people allow negative emotions to completely take over. They drown in disappointment and frustration, losing days, weeks, or even years, lamenting over what went wrong and rehashing past events. But those who grasp the immense power of being unbothered or detached view failure as nothing more than valuable data, a crucial learning experience, a necessary adjustment to their course, a mere stepping stone on a longer path. They do not internalize failure as a reflection of their self-worth. They observe the lessons, adapt swiftly, and continue moving forward without getting bogged down. Chart mindful indifference, the superpower of strategic caring. We seem to be conditioned from a young age to believe that we must care deeply about absolutely everything. People's opinions, their validation, their judgments about us. Society implicitly teaches us that our value and worth are measured by how much energy and emotion we invest in the thoughts and expectations that others have of us. But true freedom, the kind of freedom that liberates the soul from unnecessary burdens, arrives the moment you authentically realize that most things in life, especially the criticisms or irrelevant viewpoints of strangers, simply do not matter in the grand scheme of things. The next time you find your mind spinning in the vortex of overthinking about something, pause and ask yourself this simple question. Will this truly matter in 5 years from now, or even a year? If the honest answer is no, then it's crucial to genuinely let it go. Most of the things that deeply trouble us, sharp criticisms, temporary setbacks that throw us off balance, fleeting moments of embarrassment, they all become utterly insignificant as time marches on. Yet ironically, we often permit these minor disturbances to consume our thoughts, dictate every subtle shift in our emotions, and control our actions in the present. This is why mastering the skill of mindful indifference, or strategic unbotheredness, is the ultimate master key to reclaiming your personal power from the external world. Indifference in this context doesn't mean apathy, callousness, or being lazy about life. It means the intelligent ability to prioritize. It demands that you recognize that your mental and emotional energy is a finite, limited resource, and you must choose wisely to invest that precious energy only into what genuinely deserves your focus and attention. Not every battle presented to you is worth fighting. Not every opinion thrown your way is worth agonizing over or even considering seriously. When you cease reacting automatically and emotionally to every minor inconvenience or random word, you are actively taking back control of your life. You shift from being emotionally reactive on impulse to being strategically responsive and thoughtful. And that small shift alone, it possesses the power to transform your entire existence. Think about the individuals you admire most, the figures you view as icons of success and inner strength. They are not the ones desperately seeking everyone's approval or reacting emotionally to every single challenge thrown at them. They are the ones who stand firm like a lighthouse, completely unshaken by the noise and distractions of the world. They know exactly who they are, where their core values lie, and precisely because of that, they cannot be easily manipulated or influenced by the crowds. When you truly embody and adopt this unbothered state of mind, something remarkable begins to happen. People around you start respecting you more, not because you are desperately seeking their validation, but precisely because they see in you the image of someone who cannot be swayed or bothered by trivialities. In a world where the majority are desperately trying to fit in, to be liked by everyone, to conform to societal norms that aren't truly theirs, the person who dares to stand firm in their own sense of self-worth is the one who wields true power. Consider a situation where someone criticizes you unfairly. Weak-minded individuals will immediately react defensively, over-explaining themselves, launching into lengthy justifications, or retaliating with anger. The strong, however, maintain an astonishing calmness. They understand that another person's words only have power if they choose to allow them to have that power. By refusing to react emotionally, they maintain control. Not just over the external situation, but more importantly over themselves and their own emotions. And that quiet self-respect, it commands a deeper respect than any emotional outburst could ever hope to achieve. For releasing the need for approval, your own throne. Seeking validation and approval from others is like stepping directly into a preset trap. It effectively places your happiness and sense of self-worth squarely into the hands of other people, rendering you dependent on their affirmation or acceptance. The undeniable reality is no one else's opinion of you should ever under any circumstances outweigh the opinion you hold of yourself. The very moment you grant another person the power to define your worth or who you are, you simultaneously lose control over your own life's trajectory. True confidence isn't a gift bestowed upon you from the outside. It is meticulously built brick by brick upon the foundation of self-reliance, upon the deep, unwavering conviction that you absolutely do not require anyone else's permission or endorsement to simply be your authentic self. Think about the most magnetic individuals you've ever encountered, the people you are simply drawn to by their presence. They are not begging for approval or acceptance. They don't shrink themselves down to somehow fit into other people's expectations or molds. They own who they are, flaws and all, and that is precisely what makes them so incredibly powerful. Their inner strength lies in their unshakable sense of self. While others are caught up in the desperate pursuit of validation from the crowds, these individuals quietly walk their own path with resolute determination, unapologetically embracing their existence and filled with clear purpose. The fundamental need for approval often stems from deep-seated fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of standing alone. But here is the truly liberating truth. The more intensely you crave external validation and approval, the more you effectively surrender your power and inner peace. You become a prisoner shackled by other people's expectations, bending and twisting yourself into unnatural shapes to fit into molds designed by others. And in doing so, you commit the ultimate betrayal. The betrayal of your own true self and core values. Authentic freedom only arrives when you genuinely release the exhausting need to be universally liked or approved by everyone around you. It is an utter illusion to believe that global approval is even remotely possible or even desirable. No matter what you do, no matter how perfect you try to be, there will always be someone who has something to say about it. Likely something critical. Some people will deeply admire you. Others will fiercely criticize you, and a vast majority will simply not care at all. So why on earth waste your valuable energy trying to be something you are not to please an ever-changing audience? Consider the remarkable people who changed the course of history. Revolutionary leaders, groundbreaking innovators, visionary creators. They were not concerned with blending in or seeking the masses' affection. They were driven by a burning vision, by a compelling purpose, by an inner fire that consumed them. They faced relentless criticism and fierce opposition, yet they remained standing firm, unfazed. Their confidence wasn't built on the shaky ground of public opinion. It was built on something far more solid, unwavering self-belief. And that is what makes individuals unstoppable. If you genuinely want to break free from the suffocating approval trap, start by posing a direct question to yourself: whose opinion truly matters to my life and journey? More often than not, the loudest and most critical voices come from people who are not walking your path, who don't genuinely understand your journey or your silent struggles. Their words carry absolutely no real weight unless you choose to grant them that power. Another vital step is learning the profound practice of self-validation. Acknowledge your own progress. Celebrate your wins, both big and small. When you begin to recognize and cherish your own inherent worth from within, external approval or disapproval loses its power over you completely. You no longer require the applause or affirmation of others to feel worthy or successful. You simply know that you are. This knowing comes from deep within. It is a quiet, unwavering certainty. Detaching from the constant need for external validation does not mean becoming arrogant, dismissive, or uncaring. It means standing firm and tall in who you authentically are. It means respecting your own decisions, honoring your own unique journey, and resolutely refusing to let others dictate or command your path. It means understanding at a fundamental level that your inherent value is not something to be negotiated, debated, or proven to others. The moment you stop chasing external validation is the glorious moment you truly start living freely, authentically, and on your own terms. You no longer filter your words, your actions, or your ambitious dreams through the restrictive lens of other people's expectations. You move through life with undeniable authenticity, with bold conviction, with a profound sense of purpose that is impervious to external shaking. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will wholeheartedly support you, and you know what? That is perfectly okay. The ones who truly matter will respect you, not because you beg for their approval, but precisely because you demonstrably do not need it. So choose yourself first and foremost. Stand firm in your core beliefs, in your unshakable values, in your unique vision. Release the crippling need for external validation and fully embrace the liberating power of self-acceptance. Because once you accomplish that, you become untouchable. Not because you have everyone's approval, but because you no longer require it to feel whole. 5. The alchemist of criticism turning lead into gold. Criticism is as inevitable as the changing seasons. It will arrive regardless of who you are or what you do, but how you choose to handle it. That defines the true strength and resilience of your inner character. Most people crumble or are deeply shaken at the very first hint of disapproval or negative feedback. They take every comment to heart, allowing it to painfully shape their self-identity, dictate their subsequent actions, and erode their precious resolves. But why would anyone do that? Criticism at its core is nothing more than ephemeral words, subjective opinions, and often limited perspectives. Frequently coming from people who don't even remotely understand your journey, your challenges, or your intentions. The simple yet potent reality is this: criticism only possesses as much power over you as you choose to grant it. When you react emotionally to criticism, becoming angry, hurt, defensive, or disheartened, you are willingly allowing it to control your state. But when you process and filter it through the calm lens of logic and rationality, you remain firmly in command of yourself and the situation. The most robust and unshakable individuals don't permit criticism, no matter how harsh, to disrupt their inner equilibrium. They calmly assess it with a clear mind, extracting whatever sliver of usefulness might exist, if any, and decisively discarding the rest as irrelevant noise. No unnecessary emotional turmoil, no dramatic overreaction. Just calm, selective attention directed towards what, if anything, truly holds value. The key lesson here is simple yet transformative. Filter criticism exclusively through logic, not emotion. Keep what potentially serves your growth completely. Ignore what doesn't, and make a solemn commitment to yourself to never ever let someone else's potentially negative or ignorant opinion disrupt your sacred inner peace. Fundamentally, there are two main categories of criticism: constructive and destructive. Constructive criticism is a precious gift wrapped in rough paper. It is immensely valuable because it provides actionable insights, highlighting your blind spots and genuinely helping you to improve. This type of feedback typically comes from individuals who possess relevant experience, pertinent knowledge, and a sincere, genuine desire to witness your growth and success. This is the kind of feedback you should actively seek and welcome. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, is explicitly designed with the singular goal of tearing you down, undermining your confidence, and breaking your spirit. This type of opinion often stems from the speaker's own jealousy, insecurity, or fundamental lack of understanding of your context and goals. These negative, often mean-spirited opinions are utterly meaningless unless you make the crucial mistake of internalizing them, allowing them to become a painful part of your self-belief system. Imagine a master sculptor diligently working on their magnum opus. As they carve and shape, people stop by to observe. Some admire the emerging masterpiece. Some offer helpful, informed suggestions about technique or form, and others outright mock and dismiss their painstaking efforts. Does the sculptor abandon their clear vision for the masterpiece just because of a few negative voices or impatient onlookers? Absolutely not. They calmly continue their work, guided unwavering by their powerful inner vision, actively filtering out the irrelevant external noise. This is precisely how you must approach criticism directed at you. When someone offers criticism about you or your work, calmly ask yourself, does this person possess the experience, the knowledge, or the credibility relevant enough to justly critique what I am doing? If the answer is yes, then carefully consider their words. Analyze the content for any potential lesson or valid point. If the answer is no, if their criticism stems from ignorance, negativity, or spite, then simply and resolutely move on. Not every voice in the world deserves your attention, time, or emotional energy. The truth is, much of the criticism you receive will originate from people who have never actually done what you are doing, who have never taken the risks you have taken, or stepped as far outside their comfort zone as you have. Their words are often merely a reflection of their own limitations and fears, not an accurate or objective assessment of yours. Facing criticism is ultimately a direct test of your emotional resilience and inner fortitude. Weak-minded individuals react instinctively and impulsively. They become defensive, launch into angry arguments, or retreat entirely into debilitating self-doubt. The strong, however, remain steadfast and unmoved. They acknowledge that criticism was voiced, process it rationally if warranted, but crucially never allow it to disrupt their inner peace and focus. When you respond to criticism with a calm, non-reactive attitude, perhaps even with a strategic unbotheredness, you are unmistakably showing the world that your confidence and inner conviction are built on an unshakable bedrock. Look to the greatest minds of history, the revolutionaries, the creators, the influential leaders. Every single one of them faced relentless waves of criticism and opposition. Their groundbreaking ideas were doubted. Their bold decisions were questioned incessantly. Yet they pressed forward with unyielding determination, refusing to allow external noise and negativity to derail their mission. Their ability to stand firm and focused in the face of pervasive doubt is what truly set them apart from the masses. They deeply understood that criticism is often simply the inevitable price one pays for daring to progress, for daring to be different, and to challenge the status quo. If you genuinely desire to cultivate and strengthen this resilient mindset, make the deliberate practice of detachment from criticism a daily habit. The next time someone criticizes you, impose a momentary pause. Do not react instantly. Instead, take a breath and analyze the substance or lack thereof. Is there any genuine value in their words? Is there anything here I can actually learn from or use? If the answer is yes, embrace it and learn from it. If the answer is no, decisively dismiss it from your mind and move on. When you master this critical habit, you liberate yourself from the heavy emotional burden of constantly seeking external approval and fearing disapproval. Another powerful and essential approach is self-conviction. When you truly, deeply believe in your path, in your purpose, and in yourself, external opinions and judgments lose their capacity to sway or harm you. Genuine confidence radiates from within. It does not come from the approval or disapproval of others. The very moment you grasp this fundamental truth is the moment you become virtually immune to superficial, unfounded criticism. The world will forever have something to say about you and your journey. Some people will shower you with praise, while others will persistently doubt and try to undermine you. But ultimately, the only opinion that holds true significance for your life, the only one that defines you, is the opinion you have of yourself. True power resides in the ability to hear criticism when offered, evaluate it calmly and rationally if it has merit, and resolutely move forward on your chosen path without losing your focus, momentum, or inner peace. So the next time someone criticizes you, remind yourself clearly it's just noise from the external world. Learn from it if absolutely necessary, but never, ever allow it to define or limit who you are. The strongest people do not fear criticism. They either utilize it intelligently as a tool, or they ignore it completely with calm deliberation. Mark 6, holding composure under pressure, the iron core. Pressure is the ultimate test that reveals true character. Some individuals will crumble completely. Some will fold under the strain. But the genuinely strong, the resilient ones, they remain standing tall, utterly unshaken. Why? Because they meticulously prepare and train their minds long before the storm of pressure arrives. They understand at a fundamental level that pressure is not an anomaly, not an unfortunate accident, but an absolute certainty of life. And when you expect challenges and anticipate difficulties, you stop being surprised or caught off guard by them when they appear. The real secret to maintaining composure under intense pressure lies in learning to detach yourself from the rigid need for external control. Engrave this truth into your core. Not every single thing will ever go precisely according to your perfect plan. People will at times deeply disappoint you. Obstacles, both expected and unexpected, will definitely appear. Unforeseen setbacks will certainly find their way to your doorstep. But you will not react in a panic-driven emotional frenzy. Instead, you will respond with calm strategy, with precise, cool-headed calculation. Most individuals crack and falter under pressure because they instinctively resist reality. They cling to the expectation that everything must be smooth, predictable, and entirely within their immediate grasp. And when life with its inherent unpredictability proves them wrong, they descend into panic. They complain incessantly. They freeze up, completely unsure of how to proceed. But those who have diligently trained themselves to embrace and even welcome the uncertainty of life, they possess a remarkable ability to adapt. They move with the chaos riding the waves rather than struggling against it fruitlessly. Think about the image of a seasoned warrior on the eve of battle. He does not enter the fight expecting an easy skirmish or a walk in the park. He expects formidable resistance, unexpected ambushes, and unforeseen threats looming in the shadows, yet he remains composed and steady. Why? Because he has long ago accepted the stark reality of conflict. He doesn't waste a single joule of energy wishing for ease or comfort. Instead, he focuses entirely on flawless execution, on doing what needs to be done with unwavering precision and a cool head. You must adopt this same mental framework for your life. The world will continuously test you. People will challenge your beliefs and actions. Life will throw obstacles, both significant and minor, squarely onto your path. But if you have consistently trained yourself to be poised and composed under pressure, nothing external will be able to truly shake your core. While others scramble and panic frantically, you will move with deliberate precision and impactful efficiency. You will not merely react on impulse. You will consciously respond with thought and calculation. There is profound power in mastering control. Not control over external events, which is an illusion, but control over yourself, over your internal state and reactions. When you no longer need things to go perfectly according to your desires, you paradoxically become unstoppable by the imperfections and deviations of life. When you internalize the understanding that pressure is inevitable, an intrinsic part of growth, you stop fearing it altogether. Instead, you recognize it for what it truly is: a valuable opportunity, a proving ground, a moment to refine and sharpen your ability to maintain composure and clarity. Think about the most celebrated leaders, the most famously unshakable individuals throughout history. They do not flinch in the face of chaos. They do not collapse or give up when things go catastrophically wrong. Instead, they radiate a calm confidence, an intrinsic certainty, and a profound sense of self-command. This is what makes them stand out so dramatically from the crowd. People look at them in wonder and ask themselves, how does nothing seem to faze them? How do they remain so perfectly composed while everyone else is falling apart around them? The reason is that they have invested the time and effort to train their minds to anticipate difficulty. They have mentally rehearsed their reactions and strategies for worst-case scenarios long before the actual test arrives. They possess the critical understanding that raw, unfiltered emotions cloud judgment and lead to poor decisions, and so they deliberately detach themselves from unnecessary feelings during intense situations. They prioritize logical thinking and calm calculation over panic and reactivity, and in doing so they secure an advantage that the majority of people will never attain. To build this elevated level of self-control and composure, begin by deliberately shifting your perspective on pressure. See it not as a burden or a punishment, but as an intellectual game, a fascinating challenge, a test of your mental discipline. When faced with stress or intense situations, set yourself the internal challenge to remain as composed and calm as possible. Observe your emotions as they arise, acknowledge their presence, but crucially, do not allow them to dictate your actions or paralyze your decision-making. The more you consistently practice this deliberate act of self-control, the more automatic and natural it will become over time. Another indispensable practice is thorough preparation. The strongest individuals do not passively wait for pressure to ambush them. They actively train for it. Mentally rehearse potential worst-case scenarios. Condition your mind to remain steady and focused even under immense stress. When you make this preparation a habit, nothing truly catches you completely off guard. You transform yourself from a reactive individual into a strategic operator. Most people drift through life unprepared, relying solely on flimsy hope and naive optimism, rather than on rigorous discipline and preparation. They naively expect things to always work in their favor, and when life inevitably proves otherwise, they collapse under the strain. But those who actively train their minds for the inevitability of adversity, they do not break. They do not fold. They remain standing firm, untouched by the chaos raging around them, utterly unshaken, absolutely unbreakable. Verse 7, the wisdom of the flowing river releasing what you can't control. Suffering, frustration, and deep-seated dissatisfaction in life often originate from our tight grip of attachment. Attachment to specific outcomes we desire. Attachment to rigid expectations we hold, and particularly attachment to things that are fundamentally outside of our direct control. We stubbornly cling to the idea of what we think should happen to how we rigidly believe life must unfold according to our script. And when reality inevitably doesn't align with our precise desires or plans, we experience pain, disappointment, and emotional distress. But true mental strength, remarkable resilience, and lasting inner peace, it resides in the profound act of letting go. Visualize once again the image of a mighty river. Its water effortlessly flows around obstacles, gliding past boulders and logs blocking its path, never resisting, never fighting against the immovable objects. The river doesn't demand that rocks inconveniently move out of its way, nor does it cease flowing when it encounters unexpected resistance or difficulties. The river simply adapts. It finds a new way. It continues its journey. That, in essence, is how you must learn to navigate the unpredictable currents of life. Some things are simply going to happen regardless of how much you worry about them, how much you stress over them, or how desperately you try to control them. The job offer that never materialized despite your hopes, the person you deeply cared for who decided to walk away and choose a different path, the significant setback you never saw coming. You have a fundamental choice in that moment. You can either resist the reality of the situation and suffer deeply, or you can accept, adapt, and keep moving forward with resilience. The power of that choice is always undeniably yours. Letting go is emphatically not about giving up on your goals or dreams. It is not about becoming passive or irresponsible. It is about making a conscious, strategic shift in your focus, directing your precious energy and mental resources towards what you can influence and control. Clinging desperately to specific rigid outcomes and expectations makes you fragile and vulnerable to every deviation from the plan. It traps you in a debilitating cycle of perpetual frustration and resentment, constantly replaying past events in your mind, tormenting yourself by questioning, what if I had done something differently? But when you bravely embrace the reality that certain things are entirely beyond your influence and control, you actively liberate yourself from the burdensome weight of unnecessary suffering. Think again about the strongest individuals you know, the people who always seem to possess a remarkable calm demeanor. They are not the ones frantically fighting against the inevitable forces of life. They are the ones who maintain unwavering serenity and clear-headedness when faced with profound uncertainty and loss. They have mastered a deep level of detachment, not detachment from life itself, from joy or from meaningful connection, but detachment from the deceptive illusion of total control. They grasp the simple truth that life is inherently unpredictable, a constantly changing flow, and true peace comes from flowing, with it not fruitlessly swimming against its mighty current. The majority of people expend their valuable energy trying to force outcomes, attempting to bend reality to their will. They rigidly attach their happiness and sense of success to specific predefined results. If things unfold precisely as planned, they feel momentary satisfaction. If not, they often fall apart emotionally. This is a risky and ultimately weak way to navigate existence. True strength comes from being profoundly adaptable and resilient. When you deliberately detach yourself from rigid, narrow expectations about how things must be, you cultivate an inner resilience and flexibility that renders you virtually unstoppable by setbacks. No single event, no specific disappointment, no unexpected obstacle can fundamentally break your spirit or deter you from your path. The pivotal key to successfully letting go is developing heightened self-awareness. The next time you catch yourself gripping something too tightly, a particular outcome, you're fixated on a specific person you're desperate to change, a rigid expectation you're unwilling to release, pause deliberately. Take a deep breath and honestly ask yourself, is this genuinely within the realm of things I can directly control or influence? If the sincere answer is no, then actively choose to release it. Do not waste another precious moment of your limited energy agonizing over something you cannot change. Instead, wisely redirect that energy towards something constructive, something that moves you forward on your path. Learning the art of intelligent detachment is not an inherent trait. It is a profound skill that demands consistent, dedicated practice. Start with small, everyday annoyances. Practice letting go of minor frustrations. The long line at the grocery store, the irritating slow traffic, the unexpected change in your plans for the evening. Observe how liberating and freeing it feels to consciously choose not to react emotionally, to not allow these insignificant external circumstances to dictate your mood or drain your energy. Over time, as you build confidence and competence, courageously apply this mindset of letting go to bigger, more challenging situations in your life. Some individuals might mistakenly equate detachment with apathy, but these two states are profoundly different. Apathy is indifference, a disengagement from life, a lack of care or emotion. Detachment, conversely, is a deep, wise understanding that while you can actively participate in life fully, deeply, and passionately, you do not have to be ruled, overwhelmed, or caused undue suffering by its inherent uncertainties and unpredictable turns. You can care deeply about your goals, your relationships, your passions, and your experiences, but you don't have to plunge into despair and agony when things occasionally do not unfold precisely as you hoped or expected. The very moment you consciously choose to let go of what is simply beyond your power to control is the glorious moment you become truly untouched by much of life's unnecessary suffering. You walk through life radiating a sense of inner peace that others admire and often puzzle over, unable to comprehend its source. While they are consumed and tormented by frustration, disappointment, and clinging desires, you remain steady, calm, and utterly unshaken. They wonder how you manage it, why seemingly nothing disturbs your profound composure. The simple truth: you have simply mastered the profound and liberating art of letting go. So stop resisting reality. Accept what is unfolding. Adapt with flexibility to what comes your way. And above all, always remember the strongest minds do not desperately cling to control. They wisely embrace the flow of life. Just like the majestic river, they continue moving forward, fundamentally untouched and unhindered by the obstacles they encounter on their journey. Silence, the ultimate power move. In a world seemingly obsessed with constant noise, frantic activity, and vying for attention, silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is a deliberate strategic weapon and a source of immense power. Most people talk primarily to fill awkward space, to desperately gain validation from others, or to try and prove something about themselves. But the most powerful individuals, the ones with true influence, they do not speak unnecessarily. They spend more time listening attentively, observing keenly, and calculating their moves strategically. And when they eventually choose to speak, every single word they utter carries immense weight and commands immediate attention. Silence has a profound effect. It makes people uncomfortable. It compels them to second-guess themselves, to intensely analyze what might be going through your mind, to wonder about your intentions. In virtually any conversation or negotiation, the person who speaks less holds a significant amount of control. Words reveal and expose your thoughts, but silence effectively conceals them, creating an aura of mystery and intrigue. When you become a master of using silence strategically, you decisively shift power dynamics in your favor, often without the other person even realizing why. You gain subtle control over conversations, command presence in social situations, and influence how others perceive your authority and inner strength. The vast majority of people are profoundly uncomfortable with moments of silence. They feel compelled to nervously rush in and fill the void with lengthy explanations, shaky justifications, or simply meaningless, superfluous words. But when you possess the discipline and calmness to hold back, to embrace the silence, you implicitly force others to reveal more of themselves. The more they talk under the pressure of silence, the more they expose their innermost thoughts, their underlying insecurities, their true intentions, or their nervousness. Meanwhile, you remain an enigma, collected and observing, and within that mystery lies undeniable power. Imagine being in a crucial negotiation scenario. The person across the table presents an offer and anticipates an immediate verbal response from you, but instead of reacting quickly, you deliberately pause. You allow the silence to stretch, feeling the tension build. The longer you wait patiently in silence, the more unsettled they likely become. They begin to second-guess their initial offer. They might feel compelled to break the awkward silence by nervously volunteering better terms, suggesting compromises more favorable to you, exhibiting signs of desperation. Why? Because deliberate silence creates psychological tension, and tension often translates directly into strategic leverage. This potent principle applies just as powerfully to everyday interactions. The next time someone makes an uncalled-for insult or mean remark towards you, practice staying completely silent. Most people who deliver insults are seeking a reaction: anger, defense, retaliation, or hurt. When you give them nothing but quiet presence, you effectively strip away their power to emotionally affect you. They are left to wonder if their words had any impact at all. They might even begin to feel foolish or inadequate for attempting to provoke someone who seems utterly unprovoked. Your strategic silence forces them to grapple with their own emotions, their own negativity, or their own neediness, rather than successfully feeding off your emotional energy. Silence is also an extraordinarily powerful tool for astute observation. When you deliberately talk less, you inevitably notice and absorb more information about the environment and the people around you. You can discern the subtle hesitation in someone's voice, detect the nervous shift in their posture or body language, or spot the contradiction between their spoken words and their nonverbal cues. Most people completely miss these critical signals because they are too preoccupied with the sound of their own voice. But when you become a master of controlled silence, you transform yourself into a highly effective strategist, gathering vital intelligence while simultaneously revealing nothing significant about yourself. There is a fundamental reason why the world's most influential figures throughout history were rarely the loudest, most boisterous voices in the room. They were the individuals who chose their words with exquisite precision, making every utterance count. They didn't waste valuable mental energy on meaningless small talk or chatter. They profoundly understood that speaking less does not equate to knowing less. On the contrary, it often signifies knowing and understanding more at a deeper level. If you are genuinely committed to cultivating power through the deliberate use of silence, begin by actively practicing restraint in your speech. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, make a conscious effort to pause before you speak. Observe the dynamic in the room. Make it a point to listen more actively and speak less than you usually do. Allow others the opportunity to reveal more of themselves first. A counterintuitive truth is that the less you speak carelessly, the more people will lean and pay attention and assign significance to your words when you do finally speak. Another powerful way to harness the strategic strength of silence is to consciously embrace it during moments of high emotional intensity or external pressure. When you feel anger rising, practice staying silent instead of immediately lashing out. When you are insulted or unfairly criticized, maintain a calm silence. When someone demands an immediate response or decision, create a deliberate delay by embracing a moment of silence before replying. The sheer ability to control your impulses and your speech in tense situations is arguably the ultimate demonstration of self-discipline and inner strength. And genuine discipline invariably commands profound respect from others. Powerful individuals are rarely reactive. They absolutely do not permit transient emotions to dictate their words or actions, especially in critical moments. They deeply understand that silence can in itself be an incredibly potent response. A well-timed pause can communicate more volume and significance than an entire sentence of rushed words. A strategic moment of quietude can fundamentally shift the entire dynamic of an interaction. The next time you find yourself in a situation where someone explicitly expects you to react strongly, make the conscious choice not to embrace the silence. Let them wonder. Let them expose their own thoughts and motivations. And observe how the power dynamic decisively shifts in your favor without you needing to utter a single syllable. In a world saturated with noise where seemingly everyone is desperately vying to be heard and seen, the person who speaks the least is often the one who wields the most subtle yet profound influence. Master the art of strategic silence, and you master a powerful form of control. Control over yourself and over the flow of interaction. Training your mind, forge your impregnable fortress. Your mind is your ultimate battlefield, the arena where the most crucial conflicts of your existence are waged and won or lost. The thoughts you choose to permit, entry to cultivate and to let take root within that mental landscape will unequivocally determine whether you ultimately triumph or succumb in the perennial struggle for peace and self-mastery. Every insidious doubt that creeps in, every paralyzing fear that attempts to take hold, every hesitant thought that delays action. These are formidable enemies that must be consistently confronted and conquered from within. The strongest, most resilient individuals are not those who somehow magically never experience negative or challenging thoughts. They are the ones who possess the inner resolve to refuse to be controlled, dictated, or overcome by those thoughts. To truly train and cultivate an utterly unshakable mind, one impervious to external assault, you must deliberately build and solidify robust mental habits through consistent practice. Utilize gratitude as a powerful counterforce to push back against pervasive negativity and cynicism. Employ rigorous discipline to override the inherent human tendency towards laziness and procrastination. Practice intelligent emotional detachment to proactively eliminate unnecessary suffering and reactivity stemming from things outside your control. Just as the physical body grows undeniably stronger and more resilient through consistent repetitive resistance, training, your mind likewise gains fortitude, improves its recovery rate, and becomes more thick-skinned by being purposefully challenged and trained daily. You simply cannot reasonably expect phenomenal mental toughness and resilience to spontaneously appear like a miracle in moments of profound crisis, if you haven't diligently prepared and conditioned your mind for stress and challenge through consistent, everyday effort. Every single day presents opportunities to practice becoming more unbothered, to consciously pause, take a breath, and create a deliberate space. Before automatically reacting on impulse, to consciously choose to formulate a thoughtful response rather than defaulting to an emotional outburst. Most people sadly live their lives as virtual slaves to their emotions, reacting impulsively, making decisions driven primarily by fear and readily surrendering to frustration and inertia. But those who make the deliberate effort to control and master their minds, they fundamentally control everything that truly matters. This is the disciplined way a seasoned warrior thinks. This is how an exceptional leader operates. They simply do not permit external distractions, temporary disappointments, or petty insults to fundamentally shake or destabilize their core being. They move through life guided by a powerful sense of purpose, anchored by a deep-rooted inner calm that puzzles and is hard for others to fully comprehend. And precisely because of this, they forge themselves into individuals who are truly unbreakable. Grasp this profound insight deeply. Mental strength and resilience are not forged in earth-shattering events or single dramatic moments. They are painstakingly built grain by grain within the quiet crucible of small, seemingly insignificant everyday choices and actions. It is demonstrated when you consciously decide to wake up early despite the strong allure of a warm bed. It is evident when you choose to maintain a calm silence in a contentious situation instead of being drawn into a fruitless argument. It is reinforced every time you deliberately choose to push yourself forward, even when every fiber of your being desperately screams at you to quit and surrender. The mind, much like a physical muscle, grows and hardens when faced with purposeful resistance and challenge. Every obstacle you encounter, whether perceived as large or small, is in reality a golden opportunity, a chance to make your mind tougher, more flexible, and more resilient. One of the single most potent mental habits you can cultivate is wise emotional detachment. When you diligently learn to detach yourself from over-identification with fleeting emotions, from fixed attachment to specific outcomes from the pervasive chaos and uncertainty of the external world, you acquire an incredible, decisive advantage over those who live their lives in a perpetual state of frantic reaction. Detachment, let us reiterate, is not indifference. It is profound, deliberate control. Control over your own state. It means possessing the deep understanding that you cannot control the chaotic symphony of the world outside, but you always possess the power to control your own internal response to it. Picture again a violent storm. Most people caught in it are immediately swept up in the furious winds, tossed about helplessly by external circumstances, flailing against forces they possess no capacity to control. But those who have forged unshakable minds, they stand steadfast, rooted like ancient trees, allowing the raging tempest to howl and swirl around them without dislodging them from their stable core. They wisely do not waste their limited energy fruitlessly fighting the uncontrollable. They reserve their strength, their focus, their energy for maintaining their inner equilibrium and pursuing what genuinely matters. Another absolutely crucial component of dedicated mental training is self-discipline. Your mind's natural inclination will almost always be towards comfort, ease, and the path of least resistance. This fundamental biological bias is precisely why most people never manage to achieve true lasting strength of spirit. They readily yield to the myriad distractions, postpone important actions due to procrastination, and allow paralyzing self-doubt to dictate their limitations. But persistent conscious discipline actively rewires the default settings of your mind. When you consistently daily choose deliberate discipline over fleeting comfort, you are systematically reshaping yourself into an individual who is incredibly resilient, focused, and ultimately unstoppable. Start with simple, small actions. Make deliberate commitments to adopting daily habits that actively reinforce and build your mental strength. Engage in consistent meditation practice, even for just a few minutes, to sharpen your focus and present moment awareness. Incorporate regular physical exercise, not just for bodily health, but to reinforce the principle of pushing through resistance and building discipline. Read books that challenge your perspectives and expand your mind. Crucially, commit to keeping your promises to yourself, no matter how insignificant the promise might seem. Wake up when you said you would finish the task you started. Over time, these seemingly small acts of discipline will accumulate and compound into something enormously powerful, a truly unshakable mind. The world undeniably will continue to test your limits. People will continue to challenge your core beliefs and decisions. Life will certainly continue to throw obstacles, both major and minor, into your path. But the very moment you truly gain mastery over your own mind, nothing external, no matter how turbulent, can fundamentally shake or destabilize your inner core anymore. You will move through life with a level of confidence, self-control, and inner power that very few individuals in this existence will ever attain. And when others look at you in awe and ask themselves, how do they remain so incredibly steady, so utterly unbothered, so remarkably composed amidst all this chaos, you will calmly know the undeniable truth of the answer. You deliberately trained for this. You meticulously built this inner fortress yourself. And now nothing in the external world can ever take that strength away from you. 10. Moving in silence, the invisible force of effective action. Real power, the kind that commands genuine respect and achieves significant results, operates in silence. It doesn't chase external attention. It doesn't crave or need validation from onlookers, and it certainly doesn't loudly announce every intention or future plan. True power simply acts, deliberately and consistently, and then it allows the undeniable results of those actions to speak for themselves far more eloquently than words ever could. Often the loudest, most talkative individuals in any setting are also the weakest and most insecure beneath the surface. They crave constant external recognition. They prematurely declare their intentions for applause, and they are dependent on validation from others to feel worthy. But the strongest individuals, the truly influential ones, they move quietly, strategically, with focused precision and impactful execution. If you sincerely desire to be genuinely respected and not just liked or feared, stop the unnecessary habit of loudly announcing every single one of your plans or ambitions to the entire world. Stop feeling the compulsive need to justify or explain yourself to everyone around you. Instead, simply focus on doing the work. Concentrate solely on making consistent, tangible progress towards your goals. Success is not ultimately built through empty words, grand pronouncements, or theoretical discussions. It is built brick by brick, action by action, through consistent execution. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the more you inevitably invite unwanted scrutiny, crippling doubt from others, and unnecessary resistance. But when you work, plan, and execute in deliberate silence, often no one sees you coming until it's already too late for them to impede your momentum. The most unshakable individuals do not squander valuable time or energy trying to prove their worth or capability to others. They simply allow their verifiable results and achievements to speak volumes for them. They do not engage in petty arguments, they don't strive to impress superficial audiences with boasts, and they avoid over-explaining their every move. They move with a quiet confidence, a sense of purpose, and an undeniable certainty. And that inherent certainty naturally commands respect. The pivotal moment you cease chasing external validation is the precise moment you begin the ascent towards becoming genuinely unstoppable. There is a profound historical reason why the most influential and impactful figures throughout history were rarely the ones constantly verbalizing their next planned move. They grasped on a deep level that real power resides not in lofty promises or eloquent rhetoric, but in consistent, relentless execution. They did not feel compelled to exhaustively explain their visionary plans to those who lacked the capacity or willingness to understand. They simply built, they created, they innovated, and often they dominated. All in purposeful silence, letting the outcome be the declaration. If you aspire to master this subtle but powerful art of moving in silence, actively cultivate the mental discipline required to keep your major ambitions, goals, and processes private. Work relentlessly, pouring your effort into your endeavors, but do not seek or fish for external applause or validation from every corner. Allow people to wonder about your next move, to speculate about what you are doing. Let them puzzle over how you manage to stay so remarkably composed, so utterly unfazed by external events or opinions. The less external noise and chatter you generate, the less others definitively know about your actions and progress, the more underlying control you quietly hold in any situation. Silence is not an indicator of passivity or weakness. It is a highly strategic form of activity. It implicitly compels people to try and fill in the information gaps, to speculate wildly, to potentially overthink the situation. And in that psychological uncertainty you deliberately create, you gain leverage and influence. Crucially, when you do eventually choose to speak, your words will naturally carry much greater weight and impact. People will genuinely listen, not because you are demanding attention or being loud, but because they implicitly know you don't waste your valuable words on trivialities. In a world where seemingly everyone is desperate to be noticed and validated externally, choose to be the quiet force, the one who isn't chasing the superficial recognition. While others are tirelessly pursuing fleeting external attention, you instead focus your energy on pursuing deep mastery in your craft or area of purpose. While they concentrate their efforts on merely appearing successful to the outside world, you channel yours into the persistent effort required to actually become successful from the inside out. This fundamental difference is the crucial distinction between those who merely talk about doing great things and those who actually do them. If you feel an urge to elaborate on your detailed plans to someone, consciously resist that urge. If you feel a compulsion to vocally prove your worth to others, deliberately hold back. If you want to showcase your genuine progress to the world, let the undeniable, tangible results you produce speak volumes for you all on their own. The profound moment you completely stop actively feeding the need for external validation from others is the glorious moment you will begin to notice a subtle but powerful transformation. People will start paying attention to you differently. They will wonder how you achieved what you did. They will subtly question how seemingly nothing ever appears to bother or disrupt your remarkable composure and forward momentum. And that is when you will truly know deep within that you have genuinely mastered this quiet, powerful game. Not because you loudly told the world about your skills and efforts, but because you convincingly showed them often without uttering a single boastful word. The journey of building an unshakable inner world, a truly resilient mental fortress, is fundamentally a journey of courageous self-discovery, unwavering commitment, and consistent discipline. It is the deliberate moment-by-moment choice to relinquish the illusion of complete external control in pursuit of authentic internal freedom. It is the conscious decision to filter out the deafening external noise in order to better hear the quiet, wise voice of your own intuition and rationality from within. It is the powerful choice to master your own emotional landscape, so that no one else holds the strings that pull your reactions. By diligently learning to let go of what is beyond your control, by stopping the debilitating chase for external approval, by wisely filtering criticism through the lens of logic, by maintaining unwavering composure under pressure, and by purposefully moving through challenges in silence, you not only protect your inner peace, but you also build a potent inner strength that far exceeds anything you previously believed was possible. Begin this transformative journey today. The chaotic world outside does not define you. It is precisely how you choose to confront and respond to that world that creates the powerful individual you are destined to become. Build your inner fortress and live a life that is genuinely free, resilient, and truly unbothered by external storms.